Are you ready to sink your teeth into Scripture and get a bulldog grip on its truth? Let's gnaw on some doctrine and get bulldogmatic. Here is your host.
And so we have the resurrection of Christ here, and I would just say that this is one of the crowning, even in Mark's gospel, as he saw, this is one of the crowns of Jesus' deity, is that he raises himself from the dead. He is raised. Now you say, was he raised by the Father? Did he raise himself? Was he raised by the Spirit? And the answer is yes. Yeah. And if you don't understand the Trinity or you don't believe in the Trinity, I would encourage you to keep studying the Scriptures and how the Trinity is presented and how the language is presented, and then you'll see that we just have to say things the way they are presented. And that's one of those situations. But you say, well, why is this a claim to deity, or why is this a seal of his deity? Many people in the Bible have been raised from the dead. You think about Lazarus, okay? Lazarus was raised from the dead, and so is that a claim to deity for him? Well, no, someone raised him. Jesus raised him. But even in the Old Testament, you have where Elijah would lay on a child and try to breathe life into him and pray. 3 times he had to do this, and eventually that child was raised from the dead. Now, is this a claim to deity for Elijah? No, because he was inquiring of God all 3 times. He was imploring and nearly begging God, and symbolically, they saw the breath of life. God created us and breathed the breath of life into us, and so Elijah's just doing the symbolism of taking his life and giving it to the child and asking God to honor that. But he has to do that multiple times. There's no commanding of the dead to be raised like there was with Jesus. And in this case with Jesus, he says that he raises himself. Now, I thought you said that the Father raised him. Yes, true. But Jesus also says in John chapter 2, verse 19, that he would raise himself, right? Destroy this temple, and in 3 days I will raise it up. And then they acted like it was about the temple of God, and they said he was going to do this and that, and they made it for false accusations. But he really was just saying, this temple, when you destroy this temple, I will raise it up. Now, the other scriptures mention it as the Father raising, or raised by the power of the Spirit. And these are all true, but it's interesting to note, for the sake of the deity of Christ, is that no one went to the tomb, right? No one went to the tomb and raised Jesus. So we're not going to look to another prophet. We're looking kind of like the Transfiguration, where he illuminated the glory of God from within instead of reflecting it. He raises himself by his power from the dead.
Right.
So this is and apologists do this a lot, and it's just I like it. I agree with them to an extent, but it's nitpicking. They say, well, I just believe anybody that's been raised from the dead. I'm going to believe what they say, and they're the Messiah, right? So, okay, like I said, people have been raised from the dead in the Old Testament, but when Jesus is not an intermediary, or a prophet is not an intermediary, someone raises themselves. That is the uniqueness of Jesus' resurrection. He stands alone here in raising himself from the dead. And you do stand back and say, wow, that there's the power of God is what occurred in that resurrection. And
right. Another unique thing about Christ is that he will never die again. Everyone else that was raised from the dead in the Bible, they eventually died again. The physical death, they died again. Christ ascended into heaven, sits at the right hand of God the Father, and intercedes for us
and lives to this day. That's right.
To this day. That's right. Jesus is alive today.
That's right.
We hope you were blessed by this Bible Pause. To listen to the entire discussion, go to our YouTube channel. The link is listed in the description below. Thanks for listening.